Hi everybody, I'm Jman, and this is Jman at Magic Gate. Today we are playing Madden 16. Along with Madden 16, I'd like to read a verse. This is from Daniel chapter 6, verse 23. Then the king was exceedingly glad, and commanded that Daniel be taken up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no kind of harm was found on him, because he trusted in his God. Today's verse was from Daniel chapter 6, verse 23, out of the ESV. I've mentioned that it's the English Standard Version. It's in the description below with the verse. I just realized I haven't actually said in these what it is. I did say in my intro about these what it is, but I can imagine some people may have missed the intro. That's okay. So Daniel, first of all, who was Daniel? Well, Daniel was a major prophet. Now, Daniel's different from a lot of the other major prophets because most of the other major prophets lived out their whole prophet career in Israel. But Daniel was taken at a young age from Israel to a place called Babylon, and he lived out his prophetic career in Babylon, which is what's interesting about him. Now, this particular story, if you don't know yet, this is Daniel and the Lion's Den. I'm not sure how loud Larry Ridley is. He's not very loud. Let's see if I can... Okay, there we go. That should be good. So, being a major prophet, it just means that he's got a more consistent role as a prophet throughout the history of Israel, as far as being a minor prophet who was there for a few years, maybe a month actually, for, you know, like 2 days, 3 days for Jonah. Well, okay, Jonah's about 2 weeks. Let's go with 2 weeks on Jonah. But Daniel is years and years and years of being a prophet. And like I said, this is Daniel in the Lion's Den. That's where this is from. I wanted to give a little bit of extra context about that, because obviously it's not there's no context when I read the verse at first. So Daniel in the Lion's Den is about Daniel, who breaks the law and gets put into a den full of lions, and they all eat him. Okay, they don't eat him. And he survives a night in the lion's den, gets out of the den, and that's a great way for this game to start, with us being behind by 7. Excellent. And when he gets out of the den, the people that challenged him are put in the den, and they die. So that's not enough of story, I think. What I should tell is the true story here. Daniel, like I said, I told you all about Daniel. Sorry. So what happened is, Daniel gets placed in a position of being a ruler, really, of Babylon. And during this time as a ruler, the king wants to make him pretty much second in command of everybody in Babylon. And Daniel, so that's first down. By the way, that's the second first down, I think.
Well, the quarterback has such
Daniel
confidence in the receiver, and why not? He's talented, and every time
wants to accept this role, but the other people that were in the same position as Daniel were like, no, he shouldn't get this. He doesn't deserve this. Why could he get this? What can we do to destroy Daniel? And that was what they wanted to do. What can we do to destroy Daniel? And they looked at Daniel and they said, well, there's nothing that Daniel has done that is wrong. We can't just charge him with something. We got to come up with something different, something better, something else, instead of just trying to charge him. Okay, you know, whatever. So they come up with a ruling that says that no man can pray to any god or man unless that is the king. And Daniel hears this law, and he says, I don't care what the law is, I am only going to pray to my God. So he goes up to his room like he would normally do, opens his window facing Jerusalem, and says his prayers 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, morning, midday, dinner, it doesn't matter, evening. He says his 3 prayers a day, just like the law says to do. We've talked about the law a lot. This is one of them. Nope, didn't make it. But all those rulers who were trying to find some dirt on him said, hey, we finally have our dirt. And so they take Daniel to task. They say, King, isn't this what the law says? And Daniel said, and the king says, yes, this is what the law says. And so they arrest Daniel, basically, and they throw him into this lion's den. But before they do that, the king tries to find a way to prevent Daniel from having to go into this punishment, having to deal with this punishment. And they say there's no way you can get him out of this punishment. He has to suffer this punishment. And so that's what happens. He goes and he suffers the punishment, and he spends a night there. But the whole night the king can't sleep. He can't eat. He wants no distraction. Which, really, if you thought this was a kid's story, what that means, he did not want any pleasure that night. Yeah. He didn't want to hear about the sports scores. He wanted nobody around him, and the whole time he's trying to figure out what to do, and he can't sleep. Sleep will not come. And so, holding offense. So in the morning, he runs to the den, and he, I forgive you, Flowers. I don't know why you love to hug so much. He runs, and he's not sure if his friend is still alive. He doesn't think his friend is still alive, but he's actually very hopeful that his friend is still alive, because Daniel isn't just the king's right-hand man. He is the king's friend. He had become the king's confidant. That's terrible. That was not good. And as the king comes, he uses his ring and he opens up the den, and he shouts, Daniel, are you in there? And surprisingly enough, Daniel responds that he's there. And the king calls his men and says, get Daniel out of there, like we read. Because Daniel trusted in his God. Daniel says that the lions' mouths were shut up while Daniel was in this pen. Now, these lions haven't been fed. They're hungry. They need something to eat. But the whole time that Daniel was in the pen, was down there with those lions, they did not eat him. So the king now, angry, says, bring in the men who did this, who got Daniel, trapped Daniel, made this happen to Daniel, because they deserve to pay. Bring them and their children and their children's children, if that's the case. And all of them are thrown into the den, and before they even hit the ground, the lions pounce, and there's nothing left. There's nothing left. And I think that, oh no, sorry, and then the king tells the rest of the people in his community, he says, look, Daniel's God is the God that everybody must worship. Not should worship, Not, I'm going to give you the option. No, he's the king, so he says, this is my command. People will worship the same God that Daniel worships. The true God. The only God. The God that saved Daniel. And then Daniel, of course, gets his role as that lead. And that's not great. It's alright, it's alright. But what does this say, though, about trust and about following the laws? Because the law, now here's the thing. The law actually says to follow the laws of your land. Jesus says, follow the laws of your land. Paul says, follow the laws of your land. Yet the law of this land went against what God's law says. So, how does this get reconciled? Oh. Well, it gets reconciled with,
first down at the 20.
That's not bad. It gets reconciled with the fact that God's law comes first. Because that's also what the law says. The law says, follow the law of your country unless you need to follow God's law. Then follow God's law. Jesus says, follow the law of the land unless you need to follow God's law. Then follow God's law. Paul, follow the law of the land unless you need to follow God's law. And then follow God's law. What are you doing? J-Man, you got a block. But there's a first down right there. But we don't have time to do anything else. I don't even know if we're close enough for a field goal right here. I'm going to try and run a play and then see if we have time to do a field goal. I don't know if we do, though. The point is to trust God no matter what. Put God as the center and trust God. And in trusting God, God can do some pretty amazing things. That's terrible. I couldn't call timeout. Okay. It's alright. Dolphins get the ball at the start of the second half, so that's okay. But it's trust God in a situation where you're 7-17 and you want to win. Trust God that you can win. Now, I don't know what the Jets' record is. The Dolphins aren't playing great. They're not playing bad, but they're not playing great. And so there's a lot of stuff going on, at least right here. And that's how right here plays into what I'm saying. Now, as I've said, God doesn't care about a particular football team. He cares about the hearts of the players on the field. What God wants is for the heart of the player to want to know who God is, want to trust God. Oh, I tried. Okay, there's a first down, so that was at least good enough for the first down. But it's about trusting God. That's what this story teaches us. This story says that, look, people are going to cause problems. People are going to get in the way. People are going to have their own agendas and want things. They might even want to try and hurt you. And that's okay as long as you trust God in the situation, that you put God first, that you say that God is who's in charge. And that's what Daniel teaches us right there. Daniel says, look, I know that they set up a law to try and stop me and hurt me, and there's a first down. They set up a law to try and prevent me from trusting and talking to my God. But I cannot not talk to my God. That's what Daniel is saying, is there's nothing they can say. I'm not going to stop talking to the God that I love, to the God that I have a relationship with, to the God that protects me. And that might not have been 10 yards. It might have been 10 yards. Okay, cool. Good catch. So there's another first down right there.
That shows you the strength of the quarterback's arm.
And it's just about, we learn from Daniel that the way that the purpose of the idea of that trusting God is first and foremost. That it doesn't matter what you're good at. It doesn't matter what you know. Because Solomon taught us earlier not to lean on our own understandings, but to lean on the knowledge of God. And that's what's most important. Solomon taught us. Come on, game.
Yeah, a lot of people look at games like this and go, "Oh, that's boring." I think it's fun to see.
Solomon was all about what wisdom is, and that wisdom has more to do with listening to God's knowledge over our own knowledge, and that's okay. All right.
The Dolphins really don't have much of a chance of picking up this first down. It's third long.
Well, there's still a lot of time left in the game, so we just let this game, and we just keep enjoying this game. And remember that it's not all about winning. Sometimes winning isn't the best option. In fact, sometimes the best way to win is to be completely humble, which is another thing that we learn from Daniel in this. He was humble. He said, I trust you that if I pray the way you're asking me to pray, I won't be hurt, which required him to humble himself and to not get caught up in what the law was, what the restrictions were. The law that was set up was, if you do this, there is punishment. And with the punishment, there's an extreme risk in this punishment. And Daniel said, I'm willing to take the punishment, and I trust that you will work in this situation. And I will humble myself in this situation in order to trust. Okay. I will trust that you have got this. I will trust that no matter what happens, you will be glorified. And that's exactly what he got hit, so that's not going to work. I'm getting frustrated by the game, and my brain is getting clouded because I am focusing too much on something that's not important, which is part of the issue, which is part of what was going on here. Is I wanted to focus less on the actual gameplay and focus more on being able to talk to you about who God is. So that's kind of why I'm like, I want to show you that I trust God, and that's part of what I think about when I think about trusting God, is figuring out. Nice catch. There we go. There's a first down. Got some experience for everybody, maybe some confidence. Good.
Let's look at the situation. Behind the second half, you keep looking to pick up those first downs, and
so that's part of what I'm talking about here, is like when it comes to trusting God, if I'm paying too much attention to what I'm doing here, then I'm not paying enough attention to what the text said and what the story said. And I told you the great story about how Daniel didn't worry about what the law of the land was. He just tried to, wow, we got far on that one. There's a first down there. He just tried to follow the law that he had been given through God. And I think that that's kind of what it is here, is like right there, when I wasn't paying as much attention to everything else going on there, I was able to watch that play be very successful. Now, part of the problem is I still want Jman to be successful because I want to be able to play this game to the best of my ability, and to be able to, because all of this is still considered worship to me. Even Daniel being in the Lion's Den was worship. It was a different kind of worship than people think about. A lot of people, when they think about worship, they think about songs and music and instruments. And I think that I know that trusting God, when God says, hey, spend this night in this Lion's Den, I will prevent them from, I wanted that play. Oh, I wish I could have that play back. I will prevent them from getting to you. You just be there. I mean, could you imagine, actually? Just think for a second. What would it have been like to know that the Lion's Den, was, they weren't going to hurt you, that you could actually feel safe there in the Lion's Den. I'm just going to skip ahead. It's tied, of course. Now they've got 27. Oh, we've got 30 seconds left. Oh, man. Okay. I have to trust Cam Newton just like I have to trust God. But if we lose, we lose. It's no big deal. There's a flag, probably holding offense. I'll call that holding offense. Just because that's typical for what happens, and yep. It's all right, Eric Flowers. It's all right. I mean, what can I do? What can I do? So, first of all, like I said, you can't win them all. It's not going to happen. You can go out, you can have fun, you can enjoy the game, you can use that last... No, we don't have any timeouts. Oh. Okay.
This mistake will completely go on the quarterback. What a terrible decision.
I agree. I completely agree. He doesn't even get it to somebody who's going to get a first down.
The Dolphins have turned into the cardiac kids. They won a tight one last week, but they trail in this one with time remaining.
All right. No, that's all right. Again, like the last Madden we played, I got a little distracted part of the way through and couldn't exactly finish my thoughts. I do think, though, that my thoughts are basically, it's about trusting God. That's what Daniel had to do. That's what Daniel learned to do. Oh, I only had... Oh, man. Oh, such a bad rushing game. It hurts. Oh, they had... What? My defense could not hold up that game. Oof. We got to do better than that. That was not a good game for anybody, for the Dolphins. But you can't win them all. It's all right. It's okay. It is not the end of the world. We got lots of time left in the season. Okay, I know what happened. It wasn't me, but there were Dolphins that came in anticipating a win because the Jets are 6-1-7. Jets have a losing record, came in with a losing record, still have a losing record after winning that game, and my defense just expected to win the game. And they were not in it. And that's when it could have been dangerous for Daniel. If Daniel didn't actually focus on what was going on. I mean, like, I imagine that maybe he did take a chance to pet the lion's mane, which is something I wanted to talk about but got distracted because he was trusting that God would keep the lion's mouth shut, and God did. Now, I don't know what was going through Daniel's mind that night. I don't know if he slept. I don't know anything. But I do know that this story teaches us how to trust. So I hope you learned something about trust. Maybe not how to trust, but the importance of trust. So I hope you learned something about trust today. When's the time you had to trust? Put that down in the comment section just like you would a prayer request. Thank you for watching. May God bless you, And remember, God loves you.